So Rohan, what's happening? What do you how did you sleep last night?
I absolutely didn't sleep last night. There is no chance in this year that I have been happy about how the test performances have been. Across the entire year, it has just been a story of sheer sadness for me.
Yeah, it's maybe the year started well with England coming to India, but so
It's like
speaking about hmm,
we started this year by a loss and ended this year in a loss. So,
that is true. But no, so the fourth test, what do you make of we'll just go back to how it all began with I think we were all taken aback जब भी selection हुआ जब भी toss तो ठीक है जब भी when the team was announced by Rohit at the toss. What do you think of Gill being dropped?
so apparently Gill hasn't been dropped. That's what the entire team management is telling you, that Gill has not been dropped, even with a mediocre average of 30 after 30 tests and an overseas average of what, around 22
I
or
don't know,
something
but
like that.
I see after again like the same thing that people used to say about KL Rahul can sort of apply to Gill as well, right? Like after 35 odd test matches, you can't be averaging 35, 37 in test cricket
As a top five
as
batter.
a top three batter. And chalo with KL Rahul, at least he had multiple overseas hundreds in the bank. With Gill, there's no overseas hundred. Chalo, you have a couple of knocks here and there in Australia. So maybe in hindsight, you could say that, sorry, maybe at the time of making, maybe you could maybe justify Gill being dropped. But then my question is, would Rohit Sharma have retained his place if he were not the captain? Obviously
Absolutely
not.
not.
So,
Absolutely not.
so I think issues were there, like right from the beginning. That selection was debatable. I mean, yeah, as much as like Washington and Nitish sort of bailed us out in the first innings.
With
Um,
the bat, but what about the whole point of having an extra all-rounder was to get that bowling cushion.
exactly, exactly.
And if you're having Nitish Kumar and Washington Sundar and you're not bowling them, then what's the point of
Then
getting
what's
in
the
them?
point? I
It's just
agree.
like a quota system. Like Indian team selection is just like the entire country, how it functions. Just like how the entire of our country functions, it's
Correct.
a quota system. There are two players which don't warrant a place in the side anymore, no
Yeah,
matter how much they have contributed to the team and towards a winning cause. But in the last 3, 4 years, you haven't seen them actually making sure that they win matches for you single-handedly, or
that's
at
true.
least play
That's
a
true.
supporting cast, which
That's
hasn't happened.
true. So, let's talk about the first innings. I think the way Australia dominated India, I think it was the way Sam Constas, as much as I mean,
It
I don't.
was.
I think it was
I
beginner's
wouldn't rate
luck.
Sam Constas in beginner's luck. Like anyway, like if you could see, there were so many plays and misses that he had.
No, no.
Eventually,
I
like
honestly think if you had to describe his innings, he played more like a tail ender than like an opening batter.
so, definitely. I mean, there were a few partnerships. We did make a comeback, but again, the lower order did the most of the damage, I feel like. We still gave away 100 odd runs extra. We could have rolled them over for 350 or 370 for
Correct,
that fact
correct,
of
correct,
matter.
correct, correct.
But then again, there was 474. And then we started off with Yashasvi and KL as our openers. You
No,
can't
so
consider Rohit Sharma as an opener. Like if you are considering Rohit Sharma as an opener, it means that we are having a tail ender opening for us. It's a
no,
night
you're
watchman
right.
coming into bat.
You're right. You're right. I think that issue.
Effectively, I think so. KL was mentally prepared that he has to be out there in the first 2 overs itself.
I think the fact that he didn't respond to Nathan Lyon at all spoke volumes of what's going on in his head about being demoted to number three. But I think in our first inning, obviously Rohit, as usual, as we've seen in the recent past, didn't do well. I think Kohli and Jaiswal did really well to consolidate. But that run out, the lesser said that the better, I guess. It was,
Then
I would
again, the
say.
same problem, the perennial problem of King Kohli fetching outside of getting out.
I felt like until that point, until the run out happened, he looked perfect. He looked imperious in that knock. There was not a single ball that he fetched that he tried to play at. I felt like a big one was on the cards. I don't know what it did to his concentration, the run out, obviously. It was, I think it reminded me a lot of what happened to Rahane after the Adelaide run out in
Hmm.
2020. Very similar reaction from Kohli, obviously, and then it was downward until Nitish and Washington sort of
Nitin.
managed to save the day. In between, Sunil Gavaskar obviously has things to say about the Rishabh Pant shot, as you
He
would have
just
seen.
has one word to say in different baritones.
That
The one word is in different baritones, and the intensity and the decibel levels of that word keeps on increasing the more you say it.
but yeah, like with Rishabh Pant, it is very frustrating. But you would, I remember in the Perth Test match when I don't know what the score was, but basically when we got 150, Rishabh Pant I think hit Pat Cummins over fine leg in a similar manner, and we were all obviously jerking off to that shot. But so it's very frustrating. Like I honestly don't know if I should be criticizing him as much, if he should be berated as much, because these things have paid off, have paid us dividends multiple times in the past. So I'm honestly not sure what to make of Rishabh Pant's approach.
I think Rohit said this really good thing in the press conference, like
Correct.
across the entire 5 days. The only
Yeah.
good thing that Rohit said and did was saying that Rishabh Pant needs to define the risk to reward.
Correct.
He has to
Hmm.
define like what is the risk to reward and is it worth it. And Sunil Gavaskar actually made a very good point. You
Hmm.
know this is the way you are playing, but you need to also understand that your team is in a certain situation. They need you
Correct.
right now. So
Yeah.
I think that ownership, the ownership of making sure that yes, this is my natural style of play, but right now I have to curb it.
Correct. 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 I think
And if we are seeing him as a next captaincy prospect, as a test
correct.
captain, then
Yeah.
definitely these are not good signs. These are not good
That's
signs if
true.
a person who can't take ownership for his team
Yeah.
and thinks that, okay, this is the way I have to play, this is the only way I can play. If his
Yeah.
mindset is that I can only score runs like this,
Yeah.
then I don't think so it is worth playing like this or being considered as a top six batter. Rather than you can have
Yeah.
him slotted at number seven or number eight.
That's true. That's true. I think, yeah, like the more I think about it, and the way Pant's career might progress, I will not be surprised if somebody like a Nitish Reddy or a Washington Sundar, or both actually, are played ahead of Pant in the top seven, and Pant eventually transitions more into a Gilchrist kind of role, where
Hmm.
he bats more with the tail than with any of the top four, top
With the top
five.
order.
Correct, because his natural game suits that kind of a role better, I guess. Because while he did win us the Gabba Test match, and he did play out that session with Jaiswal on day 5, I'm not very sure if he can play the kind of innings that Nitish Reddy did, or the kind of innings that Washington
Hmm.
Sundar did, where he will bail you out of he may bat you out of trouble, but I don't think he
Hmm.
can, like, he can dig in and play time. I don't think that's,
Playtime, yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is definitely not the case with him. He can't bite time on the crease because he feels that he needs to be there in the run scoring department. He has to be scoring runs.
Exactly,
That's how his
exactly.
mindset has been in the last 6 years of his entire Test cricketing career. It has always been that he wants to score quickly and he wants to score big.
Correct, 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 correct. So I think maybe Rishabh Pant at number 7 is probably better suited, and I think, and then, like, coming to Australia's second innings, I think we bowled really well. Bumrah again. I think Siraj also had a spring in his step.
Siraj bowled his heart out. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I think, honestly, like,
again,
no,
it was just the lower order from 91 for six. You can't be having them at around 230 or
you can't
240
be, you can't
scoring.
be. So I felt like there were certain things, like, for example, not the same match situation, but the Indian batters had about 6 or 7 fielders around the bat. When we were basically a number 9, 10, 11 had 7, 8 fielders around the bat in the last innings. Obviously, not the same match situation, but
Hmm.
we didn't attack Lyon and Boland at all. We treated them
We
like,
didn't.
so.
Proper batsmen. We thought that we have already lost the game. So the moment you go out for defensive fields, you are in an in and out field where you have
Correct.
most of your fielders right, like protecting the boundary itself. It
Yeah,
surely signifies one thing that the captain has already thought that there are a lot of runs on the board.
exactly,
We
exactly,
need to
exactly,
control the damage. You might
exactly.
be hit for a single boundary, but you will get the wicket. But if you keep
Correct.
an in and out field, they are going to they were easily milking us for singles and doubles,
Exactly,
and
exactly,
they were
exactly.
getting the odd boundary as well. So
Yeah,
what kind of field setting? So I didn't see there was any communication from the captain with the bowler for the field specifically.
exactly, exactly. No, so that is, I think, again, with Rohit's captaincy, that is a clear concern, and yeah, like a lot was left wanting on on day four. At the end of day four, I think on day five, the way we batted, I think, again, I think Rohit, honestly, like, to be very fair, I think Rohit started really well. In he played 27, 28, 29 balls or whatever. It felt like, except for the last four or five balls, he looked in complete control. Um, but unfortunately, I think he lost his patience, and I think even before he got out, he tried to hit a couple of pull shots, which didn't
Hmm.
come through. And that ball, there was a play and a miss. I think there was a pull shot which didn't go through, which didn't come through, and then obviously that miscue. So
Then miss
Rohit,
you.
again, very very sad to see. I think KL, it's fine. Like, after playing these many fantastic knocks, I think, couple of one test match,
It's just law of averages. Law of
yeah, it
averages
would
does
come
catch
into
up to
play.
you. So
I hope it. I really hoped for it to catch up with Rohit Sharma, but that was not to be. The law of averages,
I
but
think it's just like I feel Rohit is mentally he's mentally done.
that's true.
You can
That's true.
actually see it.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
just like pushing through this series now, just for the
Correct.
sake of it. And I don't see India playing the WTC final anymore. And India actually should is not the deserving team
It's
to be
not
in the
India, not the
WTC.
deserving candidate for sure. And even like Kohli, the way he got out again, he keeps talking about discipline, and he is obviously one of our favorites, one of the all-time greats to have played the game. But I I'm sorry, but I feel like I was just rewatching Sachin's Sydney innings. In fact, I was watching the entire 2003-4 tour, and I think because of social media, we probably don't give enough credit to just how good Sachin was, to how good Dravid, Lakshman, even Ganguly for that matter. They were phenomenal players. We scored more than 700 runs in Sydney. Can you imagine this team doing that to any Australian side?
I mean,
Uh,
like I can't even imagine our team actually scoring 250 plus in the first innings.
Exactly. So I feel like Kohli, for all his for all his past performances, it's high time he, he brings in the discipline and the control that he talks about so much into his game. I really felt like we were largely let down by Rohit, Kohli, and maybe Rishabh Pant in the fourth innings. I would say. I think Pant
I
again
mean,
to play that
fourth
shot.
innings, it was just like we just had to make sure we have to bat out. We
Yeah,
just
and
had to
and
bat
and on that
70, 80 overs,
pitch,
and that also we can't do.
correct,
So that's the most disappointing part, I feel.
correct, correct, correct.
Like, firstly, we can't, like the New Zealand series was a constant reminder. It served as a good reminder to us that we can't play spin anymore.
Yeah,
We can't play seaming and bouncy tracks where it takes time for our team to get acclimatized to the conditions.
yeah,
Swinging conditions, I don't expect any of our batsmen to. Then what our batsmen are supposed to do? I
that's
mean,
true.
where are we supposed to play?
No, keeping
If
all
it's a
this in
flat
mind,
wicket,
no,
like I
yesterday
think
was a
day
flat
five was a
wicket.
flatter wicket.
It
Yeah.
was
And
Melbourne was
then
a flat wicket. The
it
only
was a
thing
flat
that you
wicket.
expect our batsmen to do is to play reasonably well on a flat wicket, which they could not do yesterday. Which is why I was, and I'm sure, like, these all of most of these players, quite not most, like at least half of this playing 11 has played a match-winning knock for India in the last 4 or 5 years. So. So it's not like so it's probably not like the ability is not there to play out a day of Test cricket. I just think there's something in the minds of these players. I don't know what that is. But
I can
yeah,
like actually we can point a finger towards lapse of concentration. There is absolutely no concentration that you can see. How many times you have actually seen that we might have batted for a day, which is a very rare thing in test matches recently for India, that
yeah,
a batting has actually batted an entire day, and the next day when we start off again, we
yeah,
lose wickets in clumps. Because the moment we have to start from zero, or even if it's a new session that we are starting off, we might have one wicketless session, and then when we start the next
yeah,
session, we are just collapsing. There is lapse of concentration. The batsmen are not
yeah,
applying themselves, which is in broad daylight. It is as clear as that there
yeah,
is absolutely zero concentration. I don't know
yeah.
if this is because of the white ball mindset that they talk about, but we haven't been these players haven't been playing any white ball matches.
Yeah,
And the last
it's
time these same set of players played a white ball match in Sri Lanka, we were humiliated by rookie spinners under the lights with dew coming in, which is not the most
correct.
beneficial thing for a spinner.
Correct, correct, correct. No,
I
of
mean,
course, of course.
what do you expect from this team at this point, getting into this new year? What do I expect from them? I don't expect us to win the Champions Trophy. There is
Yeah.
an England overseas series, which I know it's going to be the most humiliating thing that I'm going to witness in my 20s.
So I think let's actually talk about the future. Since I mean if we win Sydney, I think it will be another aberration. Just like
Just
maybe
like Perth, it would be like an aberration. Like we
yeah,
started
yeah,
with a
yeah,
win, we ended with a win.
yeah,
Border
yeah,
Gavaskar Trophy is retained. But if
yeah.
we look at a larger picture, we haven't been a good side in this WTC final,
I was
like
reading
in
this.
this WTC cycle.
I was reading this somewhere that the only team that Rohit and Gambhir as a coach together have beaten is Bangladesh.
The
So
GG era.
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So again, I don't know. I mean, I would like to reserve judgment on Gambhir. Maybe I don't know. Like if it's just the players, the coach. I don't know what the dynamic is between the coach and the captain, but something seems off. And like imagine going into the Sydney test when the captain is not performing, and he still is leaving out Gill, who is, I'm not saying he's performed very well, but Gill could very well, make an argument and say that he has actually done as well as Rohit has, or even a little bit better, not just in this series, but in the last 12, 13 months as well. So I think that the environment in the team, the morale of the team would be down. Jasprit Bumrah is the only sort of thing that is keeping this
He's the
team
only
afloat.
chink in our armor. He is the shining star for us.
Yeah,
Imagine someone taking 30 wickets at the average of 12.
no,
This
he's
is
a
unreal.
beast.
This is like what, like all of us remember what Mitchell Johnson did in Ashes 2013-14.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
bigger than that.
This is much bigger than
This
that.
was definitely much more
This
bigger
is
than
much
that.
much
And this
bigger
is, I
than that.
think, it will go down as one of the greatest bowling performances by a single bowler across a five-match
Across.
series.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
And that too for a fast bowler. See, I
Yeah,
think spinners don't have to put in so much on their body, like so much
correct.
effort is not put into their body. There is not a lot of stress which passes on to their muscles. But
That's
as
true.
a fast bowler, when
Yeah,
you are doing this, this is like once in a lifetime kind of a thing that you are actually witnessing.
that's true. That's
This is
true.
the greatness of Jasprit Bumrah. Like if it was not for Jasprit Bumrah, we would
Yeah,
have been easily 4-0. We would have been 4-0.
100%. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, so I think Bumrah is. I hope. I hope he gets captaincy soon enough. We could see a great next 3, 4, 5 years under Bumrah. But anyway, let's talk about Rohit, Virat. Obviously, people are asking questions. In my mind, I think Rohit should not be playing the next Test match. He should be dropping himself. It will. I think it will actually, under Bumrah's captaincy, we may somehow feel rejuvenated as a team. We may, I don't know. It may just galvanize the team. And King Kohli, and I think yesterday in the combox somebody mentioned, I can't remember who, he said that the king has died, and I think it was Mark Waugh or Simon Catich, I think, said it, that the king has died, and it is now Jasprit Bumrah carrying the burden of
Of
1.5
the Indian
billion
team.
Indian nations
Yes, definitely. I mean,
Indians.
like the king has died, or he's the king of nothing as of now. You can say whatever you want to say. It's the Australian media and their mindset of talking about things and
Correct, correct. Yeah,
berating us, ridiculing us, talking
yeah,
the
yeah,
most
yeah.
condescending possible just to, get inside our brains and get under our skin. But I feel
Which is working, I
for
would say.
Kohli, I mean, it is working because things are not going in our favor. So
No, no,
definitely
I
we are
would say
going to
like
get
see
affected.
things like Kohli, you know, doing whatever he did, like the shoulder barge and everything. It was had he the thing is like we as supporters, we back Kohli to the core. Like if he's playing for India, even if he plays another test for India, while he's playing, we'll obviously back him. We won't like boo our own players or whatever. But then when somebody does that, and you as supporters back him despite all of that, and he does not sort of you know pay you back with even a half decent batting performance, it's heartbreaking for the supporters as well, right? Like imagine the guys, the fans at the MCG who were taking all kinds of shit from the MCG crowd, the Indian fans taking shit from the Australian fans by supporting Kohli after he did all that. I feel like the team to get like all of them need to really stand up, and maybe they sort of owe it to the fans after all the shit that they give the Australian players on the ground, to back it up with a few decent performances. So
It was just like there was all talk, no play. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
just
yeah,
all talk, no play.
exactly, exactly.
Uh,
So
and secondly, like in the last 3 months, what as an Indian cricket team fan that we have been through, we have lost a home test series. We have been
correct.
whitewashed at home. This has been one of the most humiliating performances that we have seen by this team in
Yeah,
overseas conditions.
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah,
team needs to stand up and say, actually apologize to the entire fan base of Indian cricket team that we are
yeah,
sorry we are not playing to our potential.
yeah, yeah.
Because
No,
whatever they
exactly,
are, like King Kohli is because of the fans. It's because of you and me
exactly,
who gave him
exactly.
that title of the
Exactly,
king.
exactly, exactly, exactly. And
Because this is one of the most heartbreaking things to watch right now. Like
of
the
course it
era
is.
that we witnessed from 2015, even when we lost 4-1 in England in 2018, we
We
didn't lose
fought.
like
We
this.
didn't
We
feel like
fought.
we have lost. And here it feels like you're, and the thing is like you're doing things like you're staring, you're yeah, like you're giving somebody a death stare. You're okay, all of that is fine. And we would like he Kohli has, done all those things and answered you. And I agree, like, that's one of the ways to sort of play Australia in Australia. But you have to back it up with big runs. You cannot, like
Have to.
Jaiswal doing that and then scoring 80s, hundreds in Australia. That's, I think, one clear thing that I think we'll see over the next 6 months is Rohit. Obviously, I think is done, and whether or not he scores well in the Sydney Test, I think he's done. Kohli, while as like I love him and I hope he does well. I'm not sure how he will come back. I think he'll not retire at the moment. I expect him to play the
I
England
think
series.
he will play the England series. I think he wants to play Test cricket, but for that, I think Kohli should be a part of the Ranji team. He has to go back to domestic cricket.
I agree. I agree.
No
I
matter
agree.
how big of a player he is,
Or county cricket.
everyone has gone through that. I mean, that is domestic cricket for him. We don't know what is his
Correct.
citizenship situation as of now.
Correct. 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 No, but I think, yeah, Kohli does need to play. I think he did sign a deal with Middlesex. If I can't remember, with somebody just before he went to England in 2018, and then he had a back injury in the middle, which is why he backed out of
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
of that
he
deal.
had to back out.
Yeah, yeah.
Either it was Sussex or Middlesex. I
Correct,
don't
correct.
remember
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. So if he does that, that's great. But yeah, I think he really needs to go back to the drawing board or make a phone call to Sachin Tendulkar, come to Bombay, work out his technique. I don't know what. But in
But do you
in
really think like working out on your technique in a closed door or in indoor nets or anything, like just having a net session is not
I
going to help you
it's
a
not
lot
going to. I
as
agree.
long as you're not going to reciprocate that in a
I
actual
agree.
match situation.
No, I
In a real
agree.
life
And
match situation, that's when it's going to be much more better.
I agree, and I think with Kohli after the IPL, I think like there's a lot of time because I think before the Champions Trophy starts, I mean he'll play. We are playing England. I think three ODIs, but
Three
other than
ODIs, but
that.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Kohli might be playing those three ODIs. He might be taking a break again.
I hope not. I think it's just three ODIs. So hopefully he'll play. But I think he does need to go back to the drawing board and figure out because I think other than that technical flaw, he seems all right. It's not like he's particularly vulnerable to the short ball or to the in swinger. So I think he does have some time. I think we could see.
But like, how much slack or how much rope are you willing to give to Kohli? Like, how willing are you to cut slack for Kohli, or how longer rope that you want to give him? Because it's almost 3.5, 4 years of
They've
substandard performances in red
That's
ball
true.
cricket.
Yeah, like I cannot
Because
remember.
like if you're going to be criticizing KL Rahul, like how KL Rahul has been criticized and ridiculed to the point where everyone hated him. He was the national enemy at one point.
Correct, 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 correct.
He like in his bad patch and Kohli's bad patch. If you compare
Yeah,
in sheer numbers, they had played in the same.
yeah,
Like the
that's
time
true.
frame has been the same. The
Similar, yeah.
bowlers have been the same. Everything has been similar. KL has still managed to get in a match-winning performance,
Every now and
whereas
then.
Kohli hasn't done that.
He's correct, correct, correct. In fact, I was looking at
Like
the
we can't be
England.
living off the past laurels. Also,
So
like
I
Kohli
was
has done everything,
no, no. In
but
fact, I was looking at the England tour of 2021, where when we went to
hmm,
England. And the number like Kohli, he's done all right. Like he has maybe 150, couple of 40s, etc. Pujara. had a couple of 90s. Rohit and Rahul had both done very well. So in fact, I would say the one batter that has done very well consistently overseas for us has been KL Rahul. Like
Has
if you
been KL
actually
Rahul.
break down the numbers, I don't think he played in the 2021 Border Gavaskar Trophy. Um, but because I think he was injured. If I'm not wrong, he was
He
injured.
was,
Yeah, or dropped,
he
one of the
was
two.
dropped actually. He was dropped. He was dropped. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
dropped, and Prithvi Shaw was preferred over
Prithvi
him.
Shaw was picked. Correct, correct. But basically, if you see the 2021 tour of England, the 2022 tour of South Africa, and the 21-22 tour
This
and the 23-24 tour as well, the one
True.
that happened last year, Rahul has scored well, and obviously in this tour as well. So abroad, in match defining performances, I think if you have to really pick in the 2021 tour of England, our player of the series was I think you could say a toss up between KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma. But while Rohit Sharma has not been able to back up those performances ever since that England tour, KL Rahul has consistently done well overseas. He had a 100 at Centurion in 2021. He has a
21.
100. And
The match where he was captaining also.
that's right, exactly. After Kohli resigned from captaincy, and in 2023 as well, when we played in Centurion, he scored 100 at batting at number
Right.
six. Um, and he came close to getting hundreds a couple of times here in Australia as well. So he has consistently done well. I think even in England in 2000, when England came to India in 2024, earlier this year,
In the first test, he
he
scored a
scored
80 or a
86,
90.
and he was injured after that. He had a quad injury after
That's
that.
what the team management. That's what the team management
That's
has said.
true. But yeah, I feel like we've been very hard on KL Rahul, and I think Kohli. Yeah, I mean, ever since the
It,
2021 England
it,
tour, even before that, actually, we haven't seen Kohli play a match-defining or a series-defining
innings.
knock. With Rahul, you've seen that multiple times. With Ajinkya Rahane, you've seen that. With Pujara, you've seen that.
You have seen that.
So I feel, yeah, while Kohli has been a decent supporting act, he has not been the star attraction or whatever.
And you do understand that each and every player goes through a slump of form. But when the slump of form just extends into multiple years
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
consecutively when it keeps on happening, then you have to judge the player at the same arm length that you have actually judged KL Rahul also.
That's true. That's true. That's true. So yeah, I feel like maybe I think England 2025 will be the last roll of dice for Kohli. Um,
That
and
would be his last shot in the dark that he has.
yeah,
That's the only shot he might have. And if he
yeah.
fails over there, then I think it might be curtains for him in the red ball cricket.
Yeah, I think
It
so
might
too.
be.
As much as Ravi Shastri says that he'll play for 3 4 years, I don't think he'll get a look in beyond beyond the next England tour. And
And plus, we would be playing around close to 33 or 36 ODIs, including three ODIs of Champions Trophy that we are supposed to play.
yeah,
So there are
yeah,
going to be, I think, around 33 or 36 ODIs before the next World Cup in
before the next World
2027
Cup.
in South Africa.
Correct, correct.
So
Like
we just
Kohli,
hope
no,
in
Kohli in red
ODIs,
ball, white ball cricket. I think again, like I don't know, but
now white ball cricket for him is just ODI cricket.
correct.
So
Yeah, red ODI cricket. Now I think I still expect him to be as good as he was in the 23 World Cup. I don't think things would have changed so much. But yeah, I mean, we will see because I think bowlers will not be bowling that line very consistently to him because ultimately they also need wickets, right? So bowlers in
yeah,
ODI cricket will eventually have to target the stumps. So yeah, that will be interesting to see. I think Jadeja will be an interesting one. I think he'll definitely play the home series against the West Indies and South Africa later this year in October, November,
later
December.
this year.
Yeah, and I think after that maybe because in terms of fitness, in terms of batting application, he seems he's
He
probably
has
the
been your
best.
best batter in the last 5 years.
Exactly, he seems and it doesn't look like he has any clear weaknesses in his game. Like you could say, Rohit I think has found different ways to get out, but Kohli's clear weaknesses the ball in the corridor of
Outside
uncertainty.
of.
So I think it'll be interesting to see. I think the positives from the Melbourne Test match, obviously Nitish Reddy, what a star. I see him batting at number 5 or 6 for India going forward. In fact, very interestingly, I think I won't be surprised if wherever we go, India or overseas, I won't be surprised if Washington Sundar. at number 6, Reddy at number 5, Washington at number 6, and Rishabh Pant at number 7
Number seven.
will be our perennial, I mean, will be our core for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I won't be surprised if that is the case.
Definitely,
Uh,
because Nitish Kumar Reddy and Washington Sundar, both of them have shown that they belong over here, firstly,
yeah,
and they are a touch, they're a touch above all the players that we have in our
for
current
sure,
setup.
for sure, for
They're
sure. Except
definitely
for
a
no,
touch above.
I think the guy you can clearly see sort of the change of guard happening with Jaiswal. I think is going to be the sort of the numero uno in this batting lineup for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
I think he will be the star with well supported by Reddy. Hopefully Gill. I don't know. The jury is out
mm.
on Gill, but I think Reddy, Washington. I do expect Jurel to come good at some point. I expect Rian Parag, who's I don't know why I expect him to come good at some point in the test setup. Will be interesting to see.
It
But
would be interesting to see. And I think the best part, like the biggest positive, definitely was Nitish Kumar Reddy, Bumrah as well,
hmm,
Siraj in his moments. But
yeah,
Nitish Kumar Reddy said this one thing, I think in the post-match press conference, he said it, that
yeah,
even though he scored a century, he was like,
yeah.
I'm still not happy with my bowling. This is
I
the
know
kind of ownership you want to see from a young players coming
exactly,
in and they want to prove a point.
exactly, exactly.
So these are the positives that we can take forward in 2025, that the young players are
Yeah.
actually taking up that ownership.
So
Whereas our
hmm,
Whereas like Virat and Rohit are the ones who have to take that responsibility, nurture these young players. It's
yeah,
basically these young players are carrying them. And
yeah,
this is
yeah.
not a good sign. This is not a good sign
It's
for
not a
Indian
good sign. I
cricket.
agree. I agree. So I think in fact, the reason why I still enjoyed watching this tour as much as it was heartbreaking for most part is that you can see the change of guard happening. You can see, like real stars in Jaiswal, Nitish Reddy, Washington, coming through. You can see Bumrah sort of spearheading this attack, and he will likely dominate for the next 4 5 years. It's a little bit like the England tour of 2018, except I think that we fought a lot harder in the England tour of 2018.
Hmm.
And I feel like Akashdeep in his next tour to Australia will be a little bit better, will be a lot better.
Will
uh,
be a lot better, yes. And he was unlucky as well. So
he was
I
very
can I
unlucky.
can say it's like
So
Mohammad Shami in England in 2018. He was bowling
exactly,
terrifically,
correct,
but
correct, correct,
it
but not
wasn't like the ball wasn't nicking. The batsmen weren't nicking the ball.
correct, correct.
So
So
he
I
was
feel like
Akashdeep was purely unlucky, I feel.
exactly. So I feel like the law of averages also could be playing out here because when you're playing, you cannot possibly beat Australia 3 times back to back away. So
You can only if
South
your top
Africa,
six decides to fire.
no, even I mean, yeah, you would have you have to make you would be making history if you sort of want to make that happen. But yeah, I think the positives
We still
are
haven't
huge.
lost the series.
We
We
haven't
still
lost the
haven't lost the
series.
series.
We haven't lost the
We still
series,
haven't lost the series.
and honestly,
And
if we
Australia, well known to bottle up the last match of the series.
exactly.
So
They did that in England, and in
West
fact,
Indies last year.
West Indies last year. In fact, even the 2003-4 Border Gavaskar Trophy, the series was 1-1. Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne. It was 1-1, and we went into Sydney. We scored 700. They
But
crumbled for
mm,
300 and something. We asked them to follow on. No, sorry, we batted a little bit. We set them a target of
yeah, we
443,
batted a little bit.
and the match went right down to the wire. And we in the last 5 overs we had to pick 4 wickets, so they were 6 down, and that's how they drew the match. So I
Through
won't
the
be
series,
surprised
yes.
if they do the series. Yeah, so I won't be surprised if we actually manage to somehow manage a draw. But
We just need a Sydney heist again this time around. Again on
yeah,
this tour, we need the Sydney heist.
yeah, 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 and yeah,
There
that
has
time
to
it
be a
was
heist in Sydney. We have to. It would be a great start to the year, but
yeah,
definitely there has to be a lot of thinking when we come back. When the
yeah,
team
yeah,
comes
yeah,
back for
yeah,
in the red ball setup, I think the
yeah.
next red ball match is going to be in June end or July. June end,
Yeah,
I think
June
so.
end. I think when we go to the West Indies, or they're coming here. They're coming here, I
No,
think,
no,
isn't it?
no. June, I think so. We would be
Oh, June, England.
like
Sorry,
right
we'll be in
after the.
England. Correct, correct.
We'll
We'll
be
be in
going to
England.
England.
We'll be going to England in June. Yeah, yeah, June, July. Yeah. Let's see.
So definitely, like they have to go back to the drawing board and think.
100%.
And like as we were talking about futures, what do you think about Gautam Gambhir continuing as a red ball coach?
I think I would
Do you
let him,
think he would be?
I would give him at least the England tour. because likely in the England tour, India will be captained by Jasprit Bumrah. Kohli will be the only sort of senior in the side. I
You
think
can also consider KL Rahul as a senior player. He has played good amount of test matches. He's also a senior player in this
no,
team.
no, fair
He
enough.
has
I would say
completed a decade.
no, no,
He
but
has
like
completed a
I
decade
would
in
say,
international cricket now.
I would say, I would say the only senior player above 35, 36 in the last couple of years of his career. KL Rahul, I think, still has maybe 4 or 5 years left in him. He's 32, I think. Yeah. So let's see how it
He's
goes.
33. He's as old as Joe Root, right?
No, no, he's 90. He's 92 born, KL Rahul. So he's 32, turning 33 in April, I think, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, he I think has a good 4 odd years left in him. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, interesting to see what happens in Sydney. I think Sydney as a wicket, I will obviously cover that a little bit more one day prior to the Test match. But I think the wicket, yeah, it used to turn a lot, but I think it's more like any other Australian wicket, and I think
It.
likely be a similar lineup. But let's
I
see.
mean, like, even if it's turning or if it's bouncing, our batsmen are still going to get out.
We'll find out. But
Let's see what happens in Sydney.
let's see. Good stuff. Yeah, all the best to Team India. Cool.
I hope someone from the team management is watching this.
I will
And they
try and
know
get
that
it.
fans are really fans are
I will
really
try and get it
disappointed.
circulated. But yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens.
Let's see
Chalo,
then.
chalo.
Chalo.